So what are some things that you would say differentiate Cough Drop from some of the other stuff that's out there? Like what changes did you make?
Sure. So as I started to look at the space and try to talk, I'd spend an hour, hour and a half with whoever would answer my phone calls, talking about AAC and what they learned and what they wish was different. And one of the things that kept coming up over and over again was people would say, AAC interventions, too often they just fail. And one of the biggest reasons why is if you don't have a strong enough support system around the communicator. And you guys just had a session with Carol Zangari where she talked a little bit about that same idea. It doesn't, the software itself maybe isn't the biggest factor as much as having a good, strong support team. And so as I talked to people, I said, is there anything technology can do to help with that problem? And we looked at some interesting ways that we can build some reporting and collaboration pieces inside of the AAC app that can really help open up some interesting opportunities. When I look at the space, one of the biggest things that held us back, I've been talking about this idea of the device mentality or the device mindset. When we think about AAC, we think about a device, and we think about this piece of physical hardware. And so when I want to learn what a child's board set is like, I take that piece of hardware from them and I look at it. And when I want to make changes, I take that piece of hardware and I reprogram it. And if that piece of hardware ever breaks, then I have to get a new piece of hardware and start from scratch, or hopefully I backed it up. That doesn't have to be that way. If we instead can sort of tease apart this hardware from the vocabulary or the board set or whatever it is that you want to call it, the language that the individual is using, then there's some interesting things that we can do. Because then all of a sudden we can make changes on any device. We could program it in the cloud. We could learn a vocabulary set before the communicator ever came into the room for the first time.
Right.
We could start to see reports and logs that can be really valuable. So that's what we've been trying to do with Cough Drop is leverage that benefit that comes when we separate the vocabulary or the language from the piece of hardware.
Great. That's wonderful. And I like that you brought up what Carol had said, is that she's saying the same things. I remember also Lauren Enders, speaking to her recently, she made a comment about how AAC intervention is really just language intervention once you sort of get past getting hung up on the device or the hardware or whatever it is. And then just today someone said to me, I think it was Kate Ahern, that it doesn't matter what church you subscribe to, so to speak, in terms of AAC, so long as that you have friends that go with you, right?
Yeah.
And really that's our, sort of entire philosophy from my end at the Discover AAC piece is around the caregiver training and these other things that we know are like the #1 predictor of success or abandonment.
And it just makes sense. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, and it's kind of common sense too, right? If you're if you really think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.